Okay, here I have one of these Baumr-Ag, that's how you say it, pole chainsaws, long reach pole chainsaw, SMX120. I think this is a slightly later version than the one that's commonly for sale. This is the latest one, whether it's any better than the others. But we'll open this up and have a look. They're only really something for occasional use. If you're like a professional using one every day, you probably wouldn't buy one of these. But for the average person, not too bad. These are from this edisons.com.au. And you have to excuse the shadows, it's just getting very wintry here at the moment and the sun's very low. Let's open inside. That looks like a whole lot of bits and pieces. Comes with 3 extensions. Guess I might have to get rid of all that. And the main unit. There's another one here. Decent sized engine on it, bigger than I thought, at least in the physical sense. I forget how many cc they are. Don't think it tells you anywhere either. But anyway, that's the main bits. And I assume there's some instructions to go with that somewhere. In this box. Yes. Handles, the usual oil mixing bottle and other tools. So like your chainsaw tool for spark plug and stuff, screwdriver, some bolts in there, an 8 and 10 mil spanner, some Allen keys, so I've seen those bolts that hold these things together. Download the manual, well, that's what it is. No idea what they're supposed to be. I guess we'll probably download the manual. Some earmuffs. Cheap thin gloves, but better than nothing. Eye protection. A blade cover. And I'm going to say, where is the blade? And chain and stuff. That's the bar. We've got a strap to hang it on. Chain and some other bit that looks a bit squashed and weird. Put all that junk back in there, I guess. That, we don't need those. So it's a bit annoying, you've got to go and download the manual. It doesn't tell you anything here, although I'm sure it's pretty straightforward. So that must be the head piece, obviously. That's pretty straightforward. Our bar's going to go here. Whoops, there goes that. Now that's the bit for the bar adjustment. Must be what that screwdriver's for. There's that one I turn very easy. Yeah, it's one of these double-ended screwdrivers that the handle isn't even on. God, it's cheapo, but I guess you can't expect too much for included tools. Pull that little pin there forward. So I'm going to fit the bar to sit on that. That's the bit that tensions the bar, that's better, so that's at least out a bit now. And it looks like it gives you the direction of rotation, so you know which way to put the chain on, which is always handy to know. Of course, we've got all these kinks and stuff, which is always a pain to get out. And I haven't touched a chainsaw for so long, I forget exactly how we do it. Got to rotate it, something like that. That's it. And yeah, the chain should go, actually these are different. That's the guide, and that's the front of the cutting blade. So that should go forwards, so up on the top, you want it pointing that way. Like so. Does it show the chain? Doesn't really tell you. Just got to get it on the sprocket part there. Get that little, oops, that's coming off. Get that pin up through the hole. Now it doesn't want to go on, of course. Come on, that's it. That should be all there is to it, I think. Besides final tensioning. Quite a bit loose. Actually didn't tighten it. There we go. That's probably not too bad. Bar lube oil goes there, of course. That's actually a bit, maybe a bit tight now. As is often the case when you finally tighten it up. Yeah, that tool doesn't fit. This is not a good idea using a cheapo 10mm spanner for this. Doesn't fit very well. And of course, loose as now. That's what we're pushing. Often the way with these things. Can't make up much mind if it's tight or loose. Ah, you bloody cheapo crap screwdriver. That just wants thrown in the rubbish, that thing. And when you tighten it, it tends to go super tight. That's okay, I think. That'll do. So what do we have here? That bit rotates. So some sort of art must go with that, I take it. Where do we fit it? There, maybe? What's that thing? Yeah, I'll have to find out where that's actually meant to mount, I guess. And what the hell that thing is supposed to be? That'd be the strap, I reckon. If you put a strap, there you hold it, handle on top, handle underneath. That's the trigger. I assume it goes on this one somewhere. There's another. That thing, what does that do? Okay, it looks like you just put this piece over the shaft wherever you want the handle, and then you basically mount your handle over that bit and under. Not sure what the point of this thing is exactly or where it's meant to go. I guess we'll find that out once the thing's assembled. Whether you want it left-handed, right-handed, front, back, I don't know. It's not really obvious. I wonder if I should go something like that. Guess you really need to look at the picture online again, but yeah, does this have captive nuts? It does, that's good. But I should really have it the other way around, I guess, while we assemble it. So those nuts can sit in there. Except they don't really fit, of course. And even when they do go in there, the thread isn't matching it. Or meeting it properly, there we go. Get all those started, I guess, and then tighten them off. Yeah, the holes aren't very well made, of course. Typical China. Looks like you can actually get a version of these with a Honda engine on them, which probably would be a better option if you're going to use it in any way seriously. But for the amount of use I give one of these things, it's not really worth paying for that. Because it won't be doing a lot of work. But still cheaper than getting someone in to cut some of this tree stuff down. They made them a little bit too tight. That's not so bad, but I've got this issue of the hole is here munted. Someone didn't mould that very well. Cut the plastic out of the way and we should be right. Little one. Of course it doesn't turn in there full rotation without hitting something. What a shock. I'd go and get a T-handled one, I think. Okay, looks to be a 4mm. That makes life a lot easier. Chuck that one in the rubbish where it belongs. Straight, I guess. Tight enough for now, and the strap hangs off that bit. Now so it's just like a loop. Clips in there, That bit's tight. I think we need to tighten this off as well. Guess that's what our Phillips head's for, although this screwdriver's pretty rubbish. Maybe that stays loose. Oh, is it? Oh no, it's up the upper side's not tightened. That and the underside, I guess, there. That's probably about it. I'm just seeing how this fits, I guess. I assume that thing comes out. Well, they got some sort of, it's just like a square shafted rod by the look of it. Yeah, it's square on the other one, so how do we get those lined up? It's going to be the next problem. Unless they're lined up, I don't think they're going to... It went in somehow. Now, where's the hole? There's the hole, so make sure that clicks in, I guess. Tighten this bit off. I think someone said about the quick connects on the other ones. The earlier model were coming off up in the tree or something, so definitely don't want that. So need a bit of lube. Stupid things it catches too low. Doesn't take a lot to fill up. Now the business end. Where do we put our fuel? There's the tank. Run cold. Oh, okay, we've got the pull start here. This is probably to tell you to only use, is it 25 to 1, I think. Fuel, 2-stroke mix, which is what I've got here. Not the best angle to fill it at. You need to stand it up a bit, but holds quite a bit of fuel by the look of it, which is good. I want to put a small amount in for now, I think. That should be plenty till I can do something with it, because I don't have time to use it today. I would like to see if I get it fired. Get on there. I was telling the shaft here how to start it. Obviously put your fuel in. Press primer bulb 2 or 3 times. Short one-off switch is on. Turn choke to cold. I saw the choke here somewhere. Where did I see it? There. That's like a click around switch thing. Yoke to cold. That stops, so that's run. Primer bulb. Hidden underneath. Sits up under here. It says primer bulb. 1, 2, 3. We may need it even more than that in this. I'm not sure if we should see fuel in it, but especially when it's new, it's going to be completely empty. Oh yeah, it's full of fuel, so I did that about 5 times. So cold, run, pull the starter 3 to 4 times, should start. Turn choke to run. If it stalls, pull it again. that'll work as intended. It does jump around a bit on the wood. But maybe I need the chain a little tighter, but it shouldn't really jump around like that, I don't think. Off. And I'll have to try it on a tree, I guess, but it did seem to bounce around quite a bit on this end. Possibly, I guess that's the other thing, you've got to get the knacker using that little tooth. That was probably the problem. Probably going to get the little dog or whatever they call it cut into the timber a bit. So it's going to be interesting to try that at a long length. Supposedly they reckon 5.4 metres or something, but I'm not sure. These are only 800 long times 3, plus this one that's 4. So you've got about 3.2 there, and I guess whatever, maybe 4.2 metres if you're lucky. And that's only if you really shove it up high. Oh, we've got petrol pouring out everywhere, that's a worry. Often they have pretty cheapo caps on these things, which is always a problem. Because it's screwed on properly. Not going to be much good if you tilt it up and that. Maybe I just didn't do it tight enough. And the fuel cap doesn't work. Yeah, probably didn't quite. You've got to really tighten it. But yeah, nice and easy to start. I don't know how it'll go from cold, whether we can start it in the, or semi-warm, I guess. Yeah, it definitely cuts better when you stick that dog. Although you can't really, you kind of just got to start it cutting and then push that in, because if you obviously get the chain on the wood, it's going to stall it. So it's just a matter of, you start cutting and then push the thing towards the thing you're cutting, so that dog sticks in and stops it bouncing around a bit. But yeah, hopefully this will do the job. I'll try it on some trees and see how I go. Okay, so I've given this thing a bit of a use. And first thing I found was a problem. This plastic thing, which was loose when I got it, actually loosened off again. I didn't screw it up super tight. And of course, once you start lifting this thing up in the air with all the extensions, it came loose. And when it slides up the pole, because the weight of the saw is pulling down, it actually pulls the throttle cable, and so the carburetor won't go back into idle mode. So it'll keep revving and running the saw chain even when you let off the throttle. So you do need to make sure that's really, really tight. And the thing is very unwieldy once you get it up to full length. It does have a strap to put on, which helps a bit. But you can't really use the effective length of these things, because you can't stand under what you're cutting basically, or it'll hit you on the head. So I did cut some limbs off a gum tree, and it does a pretty good job. It cuts reasonably quickly, but the big risk is either the branch can sometimes jam on the thing if it's like up against other trees and stuff, and you can't get your bar back out almost. I was lucky, I nearly thought I got it stuck on the first cut I did with it, but I managed to get it free. Of course, when they pinch, they tend to stall the chain, so you can't cut any further. And the other thing I found is often the branches, as they fall, will tend to pull the saw with them if you're not careful, and it's pretty unwieldy. So you really kind of need somewhere where you can sort of swing it down onto the ground without hitting the chain on the ground, because it may well come down with a branch. It'll certainly put you off balance and stuff with it. And I will get a measure of the full length of this thing, but basically you're going to be using it on an angle. You've got the 3 extensions, and plus you have the height you're standing at, it's sort of at hip height with the throttle. So that adds to the length I think that they quote on these things. And the other problem I did find with this is that this piece is quite hard to get in now after using it a bit, and quite hard to get out I did find this aluminium's got a bit messed up. Maybe just from the movement of this bit because it was on the full extension. So that's something I noticed. It probably wants a bit of sanding or something to get that back again, but it is fairly difficult to get in and out now. But other than that, I think it kept the chain tension and everything fine. And again, you got that little dog thing you got to remember is there to try and bite in, because this will jump around a lot and stuff when it's up in the air. We'll get the extensions on this because I've got another tree to do. Yeah, they're all getting a bit damaged there. So it's easy enough to extend and shorten at least. Quite a hard thing to sit anywhere when it's fully extended. Handle. It's about 4.5 metres in length from the base of the handle to the tip of the chain, so you can't really even get quite that much out of it. Position it goes in. Oh man, that is heavy. So yeah, you're going to be holding it something like this. And when I say you can't go fully upright, you've almost got to go on a 45-degree angle, or maybe not quite that much. Yeah, pretty heavy when it's extended. I often find to actually sit in the sort of hot motor against your upper leg just to try and get it a bit more under control. And it is kind of flimsy, flexy, but being a chainsaw, you just sort of sit it on the thing you're cutting and just let it cut it through itself. You don't need to put any pressure on it. As long as that blade sharp or chain sharp, it should cut in and sort of drag itself through the thing. Like I say, it does seem to be quite a chunky chain, and it does cut through surprisingly quickly. So even though it's all the way up there, but we'll have a go at a bit of a softwood tree and see what that goes like. Okay, so the probably main thing with this is make sure you use your tool to tighten up the cap, and you can shove it in there and undo it as well, because you won't do it by hand once you've tightened it up. And yeah, these bits are getting harder and harder to fit in as I use it more, and the aluminium gets rougher. The other problem I had is, of course, the blade gets stuck in things, and when I pull back, that handle piece that used to stick out there hit my leg and snapped straight off, like weak as anything. Wasn't much use anyway, so I might just unbolt that other part of it. Or is it actually part of this? I might have to cut that off, make it a little bit safer. But all around worked pretty well. I mean, you're cutting on weird angles, so often you have trouble getting the blade to actually, or the chain to actually bite and cut properly. It tends to sit there and steam and not actually do anything, because you're cutting the branch at a weird angle, and the branch may be leaning into it. Even when you cut the other side, you don't always have much luck. A couple of branches I just had to cut most of the way through, especially with the thick irons, and then just luckily they were low enough I could just grab them and snap them off. So it is a bit of a funny thing because of the angle, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. Especially when here I'm dealing with lots of weird angled branches and stuff. And of course, once the petrol starts getting a bit low, you notice it pays to keep a bit in there. But yeah, we got through about a tank of bar lube doing that, and I guess half a tank of petrol maybe. So that's not too bad. Works reasonably well, but it is a bit hard, a bit unwieldy swinging it around, and you've got to be extra careful because the branches will take it down with them. And you often end up near crashing into the ground with it, because once you lose balance, I was actually finding that I might even move that handle here would actually be better on the next piece, I reckon. Even though it would mean you'd have to change it every time, but it's just too far back for decent balance. I could probably move it a little bit further up here to the very end. But yeah, I'm actually finding holding halfway up the next ones makes it a lot easier to use, even though you haven't got anything to grip onto it real well. And you just got to be careful when it gets, the tendency is to put the back end of it onto your leg so you can give it a bit of a push upwards, and that does get quite hot eventually. So when it's cool, it's not too bad. Oh, bloody plane. This isn't Shanghai 66. So yeah, just watch that does get a bit hot, but when it's cold you can actually give it a bit of a push from below, or a bit of support, so you're sort of angling it around, pivoting it on your leg a bit. But you know, for the price you can't really complain too much. You know, more compared to paying someone to do it for you. That saved me a lot of money. And the only other problem I had was the chain was tending to come loose, but I think you really got to push the bar upwards, because it's got a little bit of play in it. So if you sort of push it up, then tighten the chain, roll it around a bit, see if it gets loose. If it doesn't, then tighten it in with the blade pushed up, because otherwise it'll probably move as you're going. So the chain came off a couple of times. But this last stuff I did, I went and did a gum tree and some quite thick bits and weird angled bits, and things were catching it and all sorts of stuff, but it didn't come off again. So I think I got that about right now. So that's another little thing you got to mess around with. And the only other thing I did accidentally when I was messing around, this switch is sort of made, I guess if it slips, you turn the switch off. So I guess the idea is that, yeah, if your hand sort of slips, it lets go, you kind of are likely to catch that. And I did it once, turned it off. And yeah, if you do get low on petrol, it may not start straight away, so you just give that bulb a few pushes, get the air out of the system. Okay, going up. Get the air out of the system, and it should start again straight away. But yeah, generally pretty good. The only other problem I found is my Rode microphone is pretty useless if there's any slight wind, so hopefully I can fix the audio on this with a bit of Audacity and its high pass filter. Otherwise, apologies for the first part. Anyway, thanks for watching.